So pumped to be back here with you. Another week, another month. Literally, the month is just beginning. We are now into fall. I'm in the mountains of Utah, almost 10,000 feet, and the colors are insane. From a guy who's spent over 35 years in Hawaii, it is such a gift to view the fall colors. So if you're in a place where you get to view them, oh my gosh, get out there, roll around in the leaves, get in nature, enjoy it, love it, appreciate it. And if you're in another place like I am often in Hawaii, or last week I was in Florida, wasn't much fall to be seen, but it was still lovely and beautiful. So get your toes in the sand or the grass, do some grounding, get outside, appreciate the sunrise. And maybe bonus if you can also do the sunset, but most of us can get out there early, appreciate the sunrise, and it is game changing for your mental health, for your sleep, as I've often shared. It's just incredible. So I'm so pumped to share with you another podcast today. I'm grateful that you're here. Thank you for spending a little time with us. It just means the world to me. This is why I do this. And I am just so grateful for you. So if you haven't already done so, please drop me a little note in the Apple Podcast or give me a thumbs up on Spotify. Send me a note on Instagram, tag me, whatever it is. Dr. Thomas Hemingway. I'd love to hear how you're liking and loving what you're learning. Please share this out because today we're going to talk about something we've never talked about here on the show. I know that's a bold statement, but we've never specifically talked about bedroom and boardroom performance and how they go together. Why your sexual health literally starts with great circulation or cardiovascular health, right? From your arteries to your intimacy, how cardiovascular health is literally the key to reviving your libido. It's also the ultimate cardiovascular health checkup is what's happening with your body with respect to your sexual health. So how to get it up, how to get your heart going perfectly, strongly, for the duration, and how that's a window to what you can do to get your heart stronger, your body, your mind, all the things so you can live your best life. As you can tell, I'm giddy with excitement. This is something that we've never really specifically talked about, but it's so crucial, so critical, because as we go through how to optimize your bedroom performance and your bedroom health, if you will, your libido, your sexuality, your intimacy, it is one-to-one, literally correlated with cardiovascular health. And this may be kind of adult material if you have kids around, like that's totally cool. Most of it is science-based, cardiovascular health, longevity health, tips, tricks, and tools. But we might have to talk a little bit about the bedroom health too, because that's what I think matters to a lot of us and a lot of our lives, because that's a reflection of how we're doing in general with our cardiovascular health, our sexual health. They literally are one and the same. You can't avoid the one without putting attention on the other, and vice versa. So critical, so crucial. And I can't just wait. I'm giddy with excitement to get into this because in plain, simple English, this can be a game changer for you, for your overall health, your cardiovascular health, your body, your mind, your soul, your energy, your vitality. You got to pay attention to your sexual health. And here's why. Because that little molecule, you might have heard of it, called nitric oxide, right? That runs around. In fact, it's the phosphodiesterase inhibitors, the ones you all heard of from Viagra, right? To all of the Lewickand, as they call Cialis, and all the others that are out there. They literally act on this pathway to optimize nitric oxide. And this is important, not just for the dudes out there. This is equally important to women because their sexual health works on all the same pathways. And of course, their cardiovascular health, like we're designed the same way with beautiful, amazing bodies, human organisms that have this innate intelligence, which functions literally very similarly, especially with respect to cardiovascular health. The hormonal shifts are a little different between men and women, but all of the things I'm sharing today are equally applicable to women and men. So if you are listening to this alone, make sure you share this out with your partner, because these are all things that can greatly benefit you both. So let's just get into it. Without further ado, I want to just bust the myths on these topics and share with you very actionable pearls on how you can optimize both your bedroom and your boardroom and just your whole body health, especially cardiovascular and sexual health, and how they go hand in hand. It's literally something that it excites me. It pumps me up, because what I've seen happen with many clients over the years is literally game changing. because when they focus on how to optimize their cardiovascular health, it also can improve the bedroom health, the sexual health, and vice versa, and their overall vitality and their energy, because it all boils down to this simple, simple science, right, that I talked about just a moment ago with the endothelium and the nitric oxide. So the endothelium is the lining of your blood vessels, and how they interact, how they're able to, what we call in medicine, vasodilate, which is open up to let the blood flow, not only is crucial for libido and orgasm in both women and men. We both have the same process happening with whether it be, the male genitalia, the female genitalia, they both rely on this process of nitric oxide and the endothelium. And also this is analogous to what's happening in the heart. In fact, when the original studies were done on these types of, let's call them medications, because that's how they're mostly out there, the so-called phosphodiesterase inhibitors, they were designed for cardiovascular health to help with opening or widening, letting more blood flow come to the heart, the so-called coronary arteries. And what they found at the same time as sort of a side effect was erection, both in men and women. This was something that they didn't expect, they didn't anticipate. And that, of course, was all the rage, because that's how these became hugely, billion-dollar drugs, if you will, the Viagras, the Levitras, all the things, right? Cialis, because of this so-called side effect. But what I'm going to share today, this is not pharmaceutical in any way. I'm going to share with you not only ways naturally to increase nitric oxide, but also your cardiovascular health, which will just like a hand in a glove work synergistically together with your sexual health. So let's get into this. There was actually a study recently on just kind of the overall principles that I teach with respect to lifestyle. And this came out of JAMA. This is something that I think will set the tone for this overall presentation, because it basically talks about our overall lifestyle and our diet and how it literally is exactly correlated with erectile dysfunction. And so this was done on health professionals, nearly 22,000 patients or clients or people, real humans out there. This was published in the JAMA urology section. And this was 2021. But what was cool about this is they looked at a big number of folks, right? Almost 22,000 patients. And they did a pretty broad age range, from about 50 to 70. And they looked at, this was exactly paying attention to lifestyle habits, specifically their diet. And what they found is if you had a better diet, which was reflected in kind of a whole foods or Mediterranean style diet, this was directly associated with your ability to have both sexual and cardiovascular health, and specifically looked at the correlation between your eating and your cardiovascular, and specifically in this study, the ED or erectile dysfunction. And as you ate a better diet, your erectile dysfunction went down. And that's pretty obvious, right? So they found that if you have a healthier diet, which is basically whole foods, real foods diet, the stuff that we talk about, right? They avoid the big three, which is the highly processed sugars, the highly processed grains and flours, the seed oils. Try to stick to more of a Mediterranean style diet with lots of healthy, colorful foods, both plants and proteins. And this basically lowered your risk for erectile dysfunction, suggesting that a healthy diet would play a significant role in healthy sexual health. So this just kind of sets the tone. This is a huge topic, right? Most of us are interested in having optimal health, optimal heart health, optimal cardiovascular and sexual health, and they go together. So I just wanted to set the tone with that big, giant 20-something thousand patient JAMA study, because it really lays the groundwork for how these things matter, how simple things that are levers that we can access, like what lies at the tip of our fork, can really play a huge role in our sexual health as well as our cardiovascular health. So we'll get more into that as we go through, but I just wanted to set that tone with that giant JAMA study from 2021. Now, I want to get into how we can improve our arterial function, which is our blood flow, right? We want to train like our arteries matter. And this is a topic that is just near and dear to me, because it involves our movement, what we do throughout the day, what we do throughout the week, whether we add some aerobic plus good old-fashioned weightlifting, or what we like to call nowadays resistance training. These two things need to both be incorporated into our life because they will improve our arterial circulation, both to our heart, those so-called coronary arteries, and also the other circulation that goes to our perineal region, both in women and men, like to the organs such as the clitoris, the penis, and getting good blood flow to them works exactly the same way as getting good blood flow to the heart. So this matters. And I'm going to just share with you a quick study that came out from the archives of chest. And this was how exercise training was basically directly related or correlated with improvements in erectile dysfunction. And so this looked at how doing exercise improved your endothelial function. It improved the activity of that phosphodiesterase pathway, right, that we talked about, that these pharmaceutical agents target. But this was looked at through the lens of exercise. And so they looked at how incorporating exercise into the group that was the study group basically showed an improvement or a difference amongst those that weren't having the specific exercise training. And so what it did was not only improve their overall vitality, but it also was shown, they looked at specifically these phosphodiesterase scores, which is basically looking at what those so-called medications that we're all familiar with that are out there. It's the things that they do, but they looked at how this could be also manipulated through an exercise training program. This was only a 2-month program. This was not a long study, but the results were so significant that they were like blown away with how exercise could increase your sexual performance. So super cool study. This was several years ago, but it was showing the independent correlation with exercise and sexual health. So it does matter. I think we can all kind of understand that our cardiovascular health will directly affect our sexual health because they both involve blood flow. And this goes for men and women. We want blood flow to those regions. As I shared in the woman, you want the blood flow to the clitoris, for example. It enhances your enjoyment, enhances the whole experience. And for the man, of course, the penis and those areas. And this is directly involved with your cardiovascular health. And so I cannot stress enough the importance of movement. And as I share about it, it can be so easy, right? Daily movement, whatever that looks like for you, I would say minimum 7,000 to 8,000 steps, which is not a lot. I mean, you could walk around your block a few times and get that. But incorporating it in the way that you can do with a busy lifestyle. I don't like to throw, 60, 80, 90-minute programs on people when they can't think of how they could get more than 30 minutes throughout their whole day. And so I say, look, keep it simple. Every time you eat, if it's 3 meals a day, go for a 5 to 10 minute walk around the neighborhood, around your office building, up and down the stairs in your building, up and down the stairs in your house, whatever that looks like for you. Put on your favorite dance music. Like for us, it's coming up on, sadly, winter. It's cold outside right now. It's raining today. And it's like, I went for my walk this morning, but I got rained on and my hands went numb. Like, you can do it in the comforts of your own home, workplace, wherever it is. Turn on 2 songs. That's usually going to be somewhere between 6 and 10 minutes, depending on the length of the song, and just move your body however it feels good to you. Close your eyes and just flow with it. And that movement is game-changing for cardiovascular health, for sexual health, and make sure at least twice a week. My personal recommendation, what I shoot for is 3 times a week to have some version of weight training or resistance training, because you got to increase and at least at a minimum, maintain your muscle mass. Because as we know, after age 30 in the developed world, like here in the US, Canada, Europe, literally we start to lose our muscle mass on average at the age of 30, which is crazy. Like literally we're losing our muscle mass, and this accelerates with each decade over age 30. And this is just the data. This is not what has to happen. And I hate it when doctors out there say sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle mass, is inevitable. It is not inevitable. You have the choice of not only preserving and maintaining, but also increasing your muscle mass as you age, which is what I'm personally working on. And I'm just blown away at, in my own personal life, I've added 10 pounds of muscle mass over the last couple of years. And that's significant. I mean, it literally has helped me not only feel so much more energized, but do more, train harder, feel better about myself. And it was an incorporation of both the movement piece, adding heavier weights. I just bought some 75-pound single hand dumbbells that I'm bench pressing here. And I was only at 50 pounds a couple months ago. So I'm working up, and it's like, it's amazing to feel strong, and you can do it with your own body, right? Like as I'm talking to you, I'm standing, recording this. I can do air squats, right? I can do air squats. I can drop down and do a plank for a couple of minutes. I could do burpees, which my wife loves to do. I'm not as good at, or whatever that looks like for you. Bands are also, exercise bands are amazing because you can travel with them and it doesn't weigh a lot. It's simple. It goes in a carry-on. Like I have all sorts of fun gadgets typically laying around me, like the wrist exercise, because wrist strength directly, your grip strength, as they are using in the literature, is directly correlated with your overall health and longevity. So I have these little grip squeezers that are laying around the house. I think I have like 6 of them, half a dozen throughout the house. And my wife doesn't love to pick them up or trip over them, but I love to just grab them at any point in time. It's kind of like for kids, they were using those fidget spinners for a while. For me, it's like the little grip strength thing. And whatever it is for you, make sure you're moving your body in some fashion every single way, and really working to have at least 3 sessions of cardiovascular training per week. Typically, this is somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes, depending on, the overall goal is 150 minutes of cardiovascular exercise. Zone 2 is kind of what we recommend, which is just a brisk walk. You can still hold a conversation. It's not like running, it's not full on sprinting, whatever. You can usually incorporate that 10 minutes at a time after a meal, and then try to shoot for 2, or if you can work out 3 days a week. And what's interesting for those that are short on time, this data just came out within the last year. When you focus on more of a sort of all out training in the gym, in other words, increasing the weight, so you're doing less reps. Instead of doing 10 to 20 reps, try to keep it between 7 and 10 reps, make the weight heavier, reduce the rest interval between sets. And if you can keep it somewhere less than 2 or 3 minutes rest between sets, and you're basically moving and pumping and optimizing your muscle performance, you'll fatigue quicker, but you'll actually grow your muscles quicker, bigger, stronger, faster. And it actually takes less time because you have less of an interval between the sets. And if you want more specifics on this, you can feel free to reach out to me. You can join one of my programs. I'd be happy to share what I'm using. And it's been game changing for me. Like literally, it even takes less time. And then you throw in once a week, some kind of a VO2 max type session where you're sprinting for 30 seconds, then a brisk walk, then you're sprinting again for 60 seconds, and you're going full out. And this could be on a treadmill. It could be running around the neighborhood. It could be just doing an activity at home, where you're going all out. Like my dad bought this thing years ago. I think it was called the ROM, the range of motion, the ROM machine. And like he used to go all out on this thing, and I tried it. It's kind of like an elliptical trainer. You're using your arms and your legs at the same time, and you can go all out for like 60 seconds, and it feels like you've worked out for an hour. But this could be accomplished with a sprint. This could be accomplished with any type of activities that you can do in the comforts of your own home. This is only a once a week kind of thing. I don't recommend going crazy with the VO2 max or the sprinting, because especially with the first or second session, you'll feel some good time, lactic acid build up, and you'll be like, holy crap, I never want to do this again. I remember the first time I heard about this about 5 years ago. And I, being the typical overachiever, I did, instead of just brief 60 seconds, I was sprinting for, I think it was 5 minutes, as hard as I could do, full out. And then I'd just rest for a couple minutes, and I did it again. And I did this like 5 or 6 times over the course of an hour. And the next day, like I literally couldn't get out of bed. I had so much lactic acid buildup. My back was hurting. My legs were burning. I'm like, okay, all right, reset a little bit. You don't have to go crazy like that. It can literally be 30 to 60 seconds, and then let your body recover, and just do that once a week. So that's VO2 max type target, which is sprinting primarily, or some exercise. It can be on a bike sprinting. It can be on, if you got a treadmill, you can do it on the treadmill. That'll be less impactful to your joints. You could do it on a stationary bike. Like whatever it is, just try to do 1 session a week where you do 60-second intervals of an all-out sprint. Like those of you that are big fans of Orange Theory, this is kind of the science behind that. For me, I don't want to do Orange Theory 7 days a week, but once a week or so. Like I love those push pace and the all out, it's just so much fun. So make sure to incorporate your movement, and this will also incorporate your cardiovascular health optimization, your sexual health. It all also, believe it or not, it also increases libido. Like, this has been shown for that. It's pretty interesting. So maybe before your next date night or together with your partner or whatever, before you're, going to the bedroom and getting intimate or whatever, maybe go for a walk together. Like, get your blood flowing. And I promise you, not only will that help with the sort of physical implications of getting the blood flowing, going for a walk, but it also allows you to connect with your partner before, that bedroom moment. You're connecting, you're walking, you're talking, you're getting kind of in that connected environment sphere. And then, what happens in the bedroom is going to be significantly improved, both from the heart standpoint with the improved blood vessel flow, as well as having that interpersonal, that solid psychological connection with one another. So don't forget the movement, so important. Number two, we're going to talk about some key factors with diet, because not only is the whole foods diet without the big three that we already shared about important, but there are some specific supplements that can be helpful here. There's specific targets that are both helpful for cardiovascular health, but they're helpful for your sexual health. And this should be fun. Like, my approach to this is literally every week I try to go to the grocery store, pick out something new, something more colorful, and more color the better. Like, what's fun in the literature for this topic, cardiovascular and sexual health, is the brightly colored, purplish colored fruits and vegetables. So I'm talking about like beets, for example, berries, for example, pomegranates, citrus. And yes, you could get, beetroot juice extract in a supplement, but why wouldn't you want to just throw some beets in your salad? Just don't wear a white shirt maybe, or just be careful. I've definitely ruined a few shirts over the years with beets in my salad, but I love, love, love beets. They're so flavorful if you can get them fresh. If you can't, you can still get them, frozen or from a can or whatever. But beets are amazing for blood flow, amazing for this whole nitric oxide system. It's incredible. They have a couple different amino acids, which are super helpful. In fact, there was one I wanted to share with you specifically because I know that specific supplement has been a little bit the rage, and this is L-arginine and L-citrulline. And these are found in those brightly colored fruits and vegetables. Beets, for example, pomegranate, for example. And yeah, you could buy, L-arginine and L-citrulline in a supplement, but why? Why wouldn't you want to just eat the real food? Because they also taste amazing. So these brightly colored, especially the purple variation, the pomegranates, the beets, the berries, are amazing for cardiovascular health because they target this nitric oxide cycle. And this specific study looked at diet, and this was out of the Journal of Cardiovascular Health, and this was entitled Mediterranean Diet Improves Erectile Dysfunction in Subjects with Metabolic Syndrome. So we've learned, right, recently, percent of Americans, as well as those in developed countries of the world, are not metabolically healthy, right? This was initially shown pre-COVID. It was at 88%. Now it's over 90% have metabolic syndrome, which is not amazing. We're not metabolically healthy, but it's quick to change, right? Through the S3 approach that I shared in my longevity masterclass a couple of weeks ago. And if you haven't seen that, you want access to that, just message me and I'll send that to you. One of the things we talked about in that was specifically focusing on the signals of our metabolism, which is both the inputs, which is the food we eat, right? What lies at the tip of our fork, as well as the inputs with respect to light and timing of our food, getting out in the sunrise, in the morning light, and things like that. Those are the important signals. But this study specifically looked at metabolic syndrome and erectile dysfunction, and basically added in for the test subjects the Mediterranean diet. And what they found is that those that had the Mediterranean diet had significant improvement in not only metabolic syndrome, but their cardiovascular and their sexual health. So this was really cool. It was very simple. It was a simple Mediterranean diet with whole fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts and seeds, and especially olive oil as a major source of dietary fat. So simple, was not complicated, and hands down, those that had this intervention, which was just the simple Mediterranean diet, they had improvements in sexual function. So it's not rocket science. It can be simple, does not have to be complicated. There's actually lots of data out there. And as I shared, there's data on beets, for example, how it enhances the vascular function, as well as the pomegranates, which I used to love getting these. I could get them in California. I haven't really seen them often in Utah and not as often in Hawaii. But when I can get one, I know they're messy and they're kind of a hassle to eat, but they're so dang good. And so when I can't get fresh pomegranates, I do get the pomegranate juice. Make sure you get the one that doesn't have any sugar added or anything like that. It's just the natural juice. And I don't like to drink a lot of juice personally, so I actually dilute it a little bit with water, and I'll put like a liter of water and then maybe a half a cup of pomegranate juice. And it's amazing. Throw some ice in there, maybe throw in some carbonation. And it's like all time. It literally makes me smile just thinking about it. And so there's been many studies looking at the dietary, what we call nitrates, like beet juice, for example, and pomegranate juice. And it shows benefits with ED or erectile dysfunction in men and women, as well as with cardiovascular health because of this endothelium piece, which is, as we shared about, it helps dilate the lining, helps the blood vessel open up, and it increases your blood flow. So I like to go with food first, try to get the real fruit and vegetables. If you can't, you can definitely consider a supplement for L-arginine, L-citrulline. And there was actually a cool study with women that looked at their blood flow and their sexual function, and it looked exactly at these elements of L-arginine, and they significantly improved women's sexual health as well as her vascular and cardiovascular health. And so it's been looked at in men and women alike. So I just keep sharing this is for all of y'all out there, right? As they say, men and women alike. Who wouldn't want to have a better experience with their overall vitality and health, and also improve cardiovascular health? And it can be done, and it can be done simply with simple dietary things that literally are located at the tip of your fork. Next, I want to focus on kind of my favorite topic of all times, because I think this is the most underserved in the professionals that I've worked with. Especially, it was a thing for me, right? I made a podcast about it recently. I talked about it in my optimization and longevity workshop, which is the S3. One of those S's is for sleep, and make the sleep your superpower. Because when you don't, not only does it increase inflammation, it decreases your metabolic health, increases your insulin resistance. But when you look at specifically both cardiovascular health, sexual health, it does a couple of things. When you don't get enough sleep, it obviously causes a more inflammatory state. And literally with 1 week of restricted sleep, it's been shown as a little 3 to 5 days of restricted sleep. And I'm guilty of this past week. And I'm just going to raise my hand and say, occasionally, like this week, I had to work a couple of night shifts. And although I was trying to make, concessions and sleep during the day, try to get my 7 to 9 hours, it's just a little hard to sleep during the day. And so I have all the things. I have the eye shades, the cool room, blackouts, all the things. And I do, shoot for that same goal of 7 to 9 hours, but it's often harder. And what happens both on a molecular level is that your sleep directly affects your overall body's level of inflammation. So as you sleep less, your inflammation goes higher, like this thing called C-reactive protein, which you can measure. You can see that go up when you're not sleeping well. It also can cause insulin resistance. For me, I think I shared this before, but in my 30s, I was sleeping like 4 to 6 hours a night. And it wasn't awesome, because it literally was causing me to be a borderline diabetic on the basis of just restricted sleep alone. The other thing that is directly related to your sexual health is that having less sleep, less than 5 hours a night, will actually drop your hormone levels, like testosterone, for example, by as much as 10 to 20%. Like, holy crap, like that's not a good thing. And this is important in men. And of course, it's also important in women. I did a podcast maybe a few months back on testosterone and its effects in women and men. So don't forget this important, simple measure of optimizing your sleep. You cannot wait to sleep when you're dead. You have to put literally this as a top of your priority list, because what I found is not only does it improve the cardiovascular, sexual health, but it also can help you lose that stubborn last couple of pounds, because sleep could be that missing link, that missing lever that you're not accessing to optimize your health. So don't forget about sleep. Don't wait, like the Cure song, to sleep when you're dead. I promise you'll die sooner. And you won't be enjoying your life as much. What I found when I started to incorporate this, my wife was like, dude, you're like more happy, you're more vibrant, you're not as grumpy. Like if I don't sleep for a couple of days in a row, like when I worked these night shifts this past week, like it like creeps into my, and I'm a positive guy. I'm a glass half full, like legit. Like I'm one of these people who I look outside and right now it's raining and I'm just smiling. Like I just love, love, love nature. I love the future. I love what I can imagine will be, the future for myself, my kids, my grandkids, all the things. And so I'm a naturally positive guy, but if I'm not sleeping well, I can feel it. Like, and the people around me, they'll tell you, they've told me that when I'm not sleeping well, it definitely makes me a less happy person. So make sure to not wait to sleep when you're dead. And the next lever goes exactly with this. It's the other S of sleep, which is stress and stress optimization. And the goal here is to increase your sympathetic tone, right? The so-called vagal nerve tone. And that's directly been shown to affect sexual health and cardiovascular health. Why? Because when you optimize your stress levels and you make stress empowering for you, you turn it into a growth experience, you literally alter the cortisol, right? Cortisol is that kind of stress hormone, and it's good if you're running away from the lion. Or this morning, actually, I was walking just around the neighborhood, and there was a bull moose, like literally coming right at me, and it was walking like not. I wasn't even on a trail. I was on the road. I was on the pavement, and this thing was walking right towards me. I'm like, holy crap! I felt my kind of cortisol go up. I kind of just walked to the side, gave him a lot of room. I didn't like run or dart or but for a moment, I knew my cortisol was bumping up, and that's a good thing, right? You want to be able to be all in your senses in that moment. You got to run away from the tiger or the lion, but you don't want your cortisol up chronically, like on a daily level where you're like wired and the cortisol is just pumping through the roof. And one of the ways, in fact, the quickest way I know of to decrease your cortisol is through accessing this parasympathetic tone or the so-called vagus nerve. That's VAGUS, and not like Las Vegas, but what happens in this nerve, the vagus nerve, VAGUS, definitely does not stay in Vegas. It goes all throughout the body. It literally, if you looked at the diagram from how this nerve works, it comes out kind of at the top of the body, just below the brain, and it literally goes to the whole entire body, has so many of its innervations in the gut, in your GI tract. It's so key and so critical and so crucial. And so what happens in this nerve, the vagal nerve, which you have so much control over, and one of the biggest mechanisms is through your breath work. So if you're in a stressed out state, like it doesn't take a lot of time, go to wherever that place is. You can get alone for a few minutes, could be outside, could be, for me, sometimes it's just going to the bathroom and, putting the seat down, sitting there and just closing my eyes, putting my hand over my heart and just taking 5 to 7 breaths. So it's about 1 to 2 minutes for me. I just do the box breathing, which you breathe in for 4 seconds or so, you hold it for 4 seconds or so, and then it's basically you just slow your breathing. Breathe in, hold it, and then breathe out. And then as you do that, it activates the so-called vagus nerve, the vagal tone, and it literally turns out into your body all of the opposite hormones to the stress hormones, which are the cortisol, the adrenaline, the noradrenaline, the epinephrine, the norepinephrine, and it pumps through the exact opposite, things like oxytocin, for example, or even increasing the blood flow with things like nitric oxide, and it just eases the whole body system. And it can happen in as little as a few breaths, like so simple, so brief. And I just want to wrap this with 2 other quick maneuvers that you can do. One is just accessing what I call environmental hormesis. So you've heard about this. It's kind of gotten all the rage, the cold plunge, the sauna, both of these things can activate the so-called environmental hormesis, which is great to improve your blood flow, right? They've actually shown in sauna in particular, they have these Finnish studies that have shown as much as a 50% reduction in all-cause mortality, specifically looking at cardiovascular health. You get in a sauna 5 days a week, like legit, you have a 50% less risk of dying, especially from cardiovascular ailments, which is still in women and of course in men, the #1 killer worldwide in all the developed world is cardiovascular disease or heart attack. And that shouldn't be like that. This is one of the most preventable things that you can do. I mean, you're not destined to have cardiovascular health. It doesn't matter if it's in your family. Like it's mostly environmental and lifestyle related, profoundly lifestyle related, which is that we are ultimately in charge. We are in control. So sauna, if you can access it, so helpful. I don't have a sauna currently, but my wife and I figured out that with this kind of a steam shower enclosure that we have the glass around our shower, we can crank up the hot water, get that hot steam in there, and we can kind of simulate a sort of wet sauna. It's, not super hot, but we can probably get it 130 degrees in there, and it feels amazing to sweat and to vasodilate, to have the blood flow. Like, it's game changing. So if you have access to sauna or something like that, the heat, if you can do it 4 or 5 days a week, even 3 to 5 days a week, like, amazing. 20 minutes or so at a time, optimal. And if you can throw in some cold hormesis, right? The cold plunge, there's data on that too. Not quite as much data as the sauna. I personally like sauna a little better, but I do both. And I don't have either of these machines in my house. I don't have a sauna. I don't have a cold plunge, but I have access to cold water. And so just think about that. That's something that's kind of fun. It definitely will wake you up, especially the cold plunge, get you going. Like the Tony Robbins thing when he's in Idaho, he's like, I don't say, are we going to go? Like, I just go do it. And I think he's got a cold plunge in Florida where he spends most of his time. He just says, we've made the decision, we go. We don't think our way through it. We don't try to get up the energy, get up the motivation. You just do. And so I think you definitely got to do that with cold plunge until you get used to it. And then honestly, you start to look forward to it. Like, I had the opportunity a few months ago to do cold plunge every single day. In the first couple of days, I was like kind of lukewarm, wasn't really looking forward to it. By the end, I was like pumped. I was spending like 10 minutes in this thing and I was just loving it. I was enjoying it. And so if you can incorporate those kind of what I call environmental hormesis, it's so helpful to your blood flow, which is great for sexual health, great for cardiovascular health. Now, to close, I just wanted to add a couple of things on targeted supplementation. And remember the mantra, food first. And also that supplements are indeed supplemental. And I think sometimes we forget this because the environment we live in, we got these phones where we can click something on Amazon. It can get here tomorrow. I just told you about L-arginine and L-citrulline. Now you're going to be searching up this and beetroot powder. And you're like, click, I can get that tomorrow. Like, yes, you can, but you could also go to the supermarket, your farmer's market, and you could pick up some beets, or maybe it's a pomegranate, right? Maybe you can pick up some of these very colorful fruits and vegetables, the berries, right? Because I just think it's more fun. Food first, super, super fun. And L-arginine, L-citrulline, beetroot powder, or just the beets in general. I love them in salad. I freaking love it. Pomegranate juice, like unbelievable stuff. Really helpful for increasing blood flow in this whole nitric oxide pathway. Also, the omega-3s are so essential. Omega-3s, which is stuff that's in fish and krill and seafood. I have found that this is a place I often have to supplement. I'm just going to be honest. It's hard to get adequate from your diet. And for me, when I was, in Hawaii eating fish like 5 to 7 days a week, like I was overdoing it, right? I was eating the big fish, the tuna, the ahi, poke, like all the things. And my mercury started to go up. And I'm like, crap, I love fish, but I had to cut back. And so I do use an omega-3 supplement with DHA and EPA. And with that, at the same time, I take vitamin D because they're both fat soluble, perfect to take together. If you're one of the olive oil junkies and you want to add a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil and gulp that down with your omega-3s, the EPA and DHA, as well as your vitamin D, like that'd be amazing to do that. I just like to throw it on my salad with some lemon juice. I don't like to just drink olive oil. It just seems a little weird to me. But whatever works for you. Know that there are supplements out there, including those that I've shared, including the NAD precursors and NAD that can improve your overall blood flow. Essential things can be also found from the diet. Don't feel like you have to go out and buy a supplement. So in summary, there is so much you can do. It can be simple, right? It starts with your daily movement. We talked about this ad nauseum in my training recently. And one of the biggest levers, and I started with this when the S1 out of the S3 was strength. Don't forget about your strength. Sarcopenia is not it's not part of aging. Like doctors tell you it's part of aging, it is not part of aging. Just because it's normal, meaning that it's happening to many people, does not mean that it's optimal, does not mean that it has to be you. You can choose. So we talked about movement, we talked about sleep, we talked about stress optimization, we talked about the supplementation that you can add to your diet, whether it be for the real fruits, vegetables, the brightly colored things, making your plate fun again, right? Making it fun again. making these stressors that come through your life optimized with breathing, activating that vagus nerve. So important. And as you sleep, get your 7 to 9 hours, your hormones will balance out. And if you specifically want to know about this more, I mean, reach out to me. We have a longevity lab panel and strategy that we can do together where we can measure your hormones. I mean, we can literally get a look under the hood because you just can't guess this stuff. And this is men, this is women. Like, you got to check under the hood. You got to check your levels. You got to check your levels of inflammation, right? Your CRP, the highly sensitive, the HSCRP. You got to check your vitamin D levels. Like, most doctors don't do this stuff, but those that know, they do. So reach out to one that's familiar with these kind of testing. You can reach out for me. You want to talk more about these things, I'd be happy to do so. But I would just say right now, this week, make sure you choose something, anything that we've talked about today. Increase your movement. Do the dance party after meals. Add some of these super colorful things to your diet, whether it be pomegranate juice or beets. Add them to your salad. Whatever it is, add something new from the farmer's market, right? Super fun. Or maybe it's optimize your sleep. I promise you that can be your superpower. Even if you're somebody that's never really excelled with sleep, which was me, actually, I did not excel. This was probably my lowest on the report card, if you will, but I've learned to prioritize it, and it's been game changing. Maybe it's this week you want to make a goal every day. Take 2 minutes. I'm not asking you to go 30 and meditate. Take 2 minutes. Close your eyes. Do some box breathing. Put your hand over your heart. Give yourself 5 to 10 breaths. That's 2 minutes of your life. Or when something happens and you just want to go, rah, scream, yell, go all out, we'll do that too. But then take 2 minutes and let your body reequilibrate. Access that vagus nerve, because what happens there spreads throughout the body, and it can be so powerful. Maybe you want to jump in the sauna. If your gym has a sauna, do 20 minutes a couple of times a week. Do a cold plunge. Whatever that is, choose something. Let me know what you choose and let me know how it's helping you. Because remember, sexual health is cardiovascular health. Cardiovascular health is sexual health. They go together. And if you want to optimize your health and your life, follow me, reach out to me, and share this with a friend. Aloha.